Welcome to KIRSTIcast, the show where we hope to illuminate, entertain, and engage our listeners, helping them create the life they want. I'm your host, Kirsti Manna. Hi, everyone. Welcome to KIRSTIcast. I'm Kirsti Manna, and thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I'm really excited for you to meet my Shiro Spotlight guest because we have one really big thing in common. I'm not going to tell you what it is because I really want you to stick around for our interview. I know it's going to be a lot of fun. When it comes to having things in common with people, sometimes the thing that we have in common with them is nothing. And I know this as a songwriter from getting into rooms with people sometimes that I've never met before and realizing when we get in the room together that the only thing we have in common is that we want to write a really great song. So if you are creating with somebody that you feel like you really don't have anything in common with, what do you do to get the ball rolling? Well, one thing you can do is you can just start having a conversation. There's all kinds of great things you can talk about that can break the ice. And you'll find before you know it that you have a lot in common. One thing you do have in common besides wanting to write a great song is that you have in common the love for music, the love for creating. And I really feel like if more people that didn't have stuff in common got together to talk, they'd probably find out that they could dispel all those mysteries of each other and really get going on something cool. Conversation is something for me that has always opened up the world when it comes to co-writing. I don't ever get in a room, even with people that I know very well, without having some time spent on just checking in with each other, talking about maybe what's going on in Nashville, some scoop, talking about what our favorite songs are, what favorite songs are on the radio, what songs don't we love as much as another, and what we've just been doing in our lives. Those are the kinds of things that we all have in common. Just being human, caring about each other, and getting to the bottom of what makes each other tick. So I hope the next time you're hanging out and you're really stumped for an idea, that you think about all the things you probably do have in common if you just start talking about what you maybe don't have in common. That's a mind bender. I'll let you take a shot at that. Stick around for the Shiro Spotlight. We're going to be right back. Stay tuned for the Shiro Spotlight. Welcome back, everyone, to KIRSTIcast and to my very special Shiro Spotlight segment with my guest, who you will not believe her name. Let me just say that. You will not believe her name. But let me tell you a little bit about her. She is thirsty for love and magic, for joy and sunshine. She's thirsty for compassion and authenticity. She must have been reading the How to Be Like Leonardo da Vinci book. Nowhere is her appetite more quenched than on stage in front of her fans, and they are appropriately named the Thirsties. So remember that, because that's going to make you think, oh, that makes sense with her name. Her songs are a perfect blend of country, funk, blues, and rock. She's a Wisconsin native. She made the move to Music City about 5 years ago, and having heavily toured that summer before with her Midwest band, Thirsty Jones, she decided to make the decision to really focus and hone her own craft in Nashville. And that takes a lot of focus, I'll have to tell you. She got into the studio to record songs for her first upcoming full-length record and played established venues like the Listening Room and the Bluebird Cafe. She released her first Nashville-based single called Delusional in 2018, and she released more singles leading up to her debut album, Yes You Can, that dropped 5/2022. I love this quote. The way you know you're on the right path is if you open yourself up and the opportunities just fall into place. You're doing what you want to do and you're happy doing it. You've just got to keep telling yourself you have everything you need, and don't listen to anybody who tells you differently, because everything that you put out in the universe is going to come back. Please welcome to the show, Kirsti Kraus.
That's right.
The Kirsties.
Oh my gosh, She Heroes. I love this so much. And the Kirsties are back in action.
The Kirsties are here. Well, and what I love about it is, I remember I was sitting there as I was reading that, and I was thinking the very first time I met you was at a Global Songwriter Connection Christmas party.
Yes.
At the CMA. And you came up to me, and I don't know, you said, "Are you Kirsti?" I think that's what you said. And that's when we met. And that was so great.
I love that. I think Lynn had pointed me over to your direction. And
Lynn Wilbanks, yeah.
And I walked over, and then I was like, "You're Kirsti?"
And
like,
I said, "Wait a minute, who are you?" And you go, "I'm Kirsti." I'm like, "No, it was like the Lucy show, we were like doing the mirror." But anyway, it's so great to finally have you here on the show. I really appreciate you coming out today.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
You're welcome. And we were talking about some cool things before we started this interview, and we're going to get to that because I do want to talk to you about that. But tell me, first of all, what made you make the move to Nashville? What was it about your career that you decided it was time to go?
Yeah, I always, there was many years where I was like, okay, I'm going to move to Nashville. Like, I'm going to go to Belmont. Okay, I'm going to go for college. Or we thought about actually doing a magnet middle school down here. We were looking at that at the time.
Wow.
So it was always a matter of when I was going to be in Nashville. It just was the right time. And I got to the point with the band. It had been 3.5 years I was running my own band. So I had been already with previous bands, just running it as my business. And I was like, okay, next summer looks like the same thing. We're going to all, between us 5-6 bands, we're going to switch around and do the same type of festivals. I want to grow to like the new thing. I want to put myself in an environment where I have to push myself harder again that feels uncomfortable. And so that's when I knew I was like, and I had been preparing to move, like back and forth trips, writing for the album. So I was like, it's time to create this project and develop my sound and be like, I'm going to be full on solo artist mode.
Yeah.
And not hide behind a band name. I'm just going to 110% pursue it. And I think that was important to me, is when I moved to Nashville, that I was in that space to do so.
Right.
And be ready to like run it.
Well, and I think it's so funny you call your fans the Thirsties, because when people can't say my name, I say rhymes with thirsty. Yeah. I always say that, and they get it.
And I would say that too.
That is hilarious.
And I would write songs with the word thirsty in them. And that kind of happened because my old band was named Thirsty Jones. And I put thirsty in the title because it helped people understand my name. So I was like, I got to keep this around. So then I started writing songs with, I would sneak the word thirsty in them. And then they just evolved. They started calling themselves the Thirsties.
That's
and
great.
I was like, that's cute. I kind of like that. And it just stuck.
That's really cute.
It stuck.
I really, really
They're like, we're your Thirsties. And I was like, okay, let's do it.
That's so cute. Yeah. I think it's great. So we were talking before we started to roll about goals.
Yes.
And, you're sitting here talking about when you moved to Nashville, it sounded to me like you had a lot of goals in place. If you were going to give somebody advice, because I always have my list of things to tell people.
Yeah.
If you were going to tell somebody, what are the 5 most important things, or even the 3 most important things about leaving your comfort of your hometown and moving to this big ocean, what would you say?
I definitely, for me, it was having enough connections to be busy enough when I moved here right away. So doing the trips back and forth and meeting this person that then introduced you to this person, and like keeping it all a list, like really connecting with people and building those relationships before just coming here and not knowing anybody. That was really important to me. I also wanted to be able to play live right away. So I was building the relationships with the people who ran the writers round, so that when I did move here, I could play out whenever I wanted to. That was important to me. That way I could hit the ground running again. So I would highly suggest that, is taking time to get to know people and come in and out of town enough where people almost think you like live here, and then make the move. Yeah. Because I think people thought I lived there for like, I don't know, like a year and a half, 2 years. They're like, wait, you don't live here? And I was like, no. But I would come in town for the big important events like the Global Songwriters Connections Christmas party, or like things that I always knew that, you know, CMA Fest that I needed to be in town for.
Yeah. Did you have friends that you stayed with, or did you front all that yourself?
I had friends that I stayed with, and I'm so grateful. And to this day, it is important to me to be able to share that, as I have my own place over in Bellevue, and it's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo. And so my friend Kirsti Huff is staying right now as she goes in and out for writes and performances, and not to be confusing, but Kirsti, but she's lovely, and I've done that for my friends in the UK, and people did that for me. So it's important to be able to pass that forward.
Yeah, that's really nice. Yeah, when I was doing Songwriter Girl camp, sometimes I'd meet a girl and she'd say, "I really want to come to Nashville." You could stay at our house, and my husband Bill would go, you know, what do you?
Sometimes you never know, like, if they're gonna. I think if you're doing it right. Yeah. So I'm gonna spin this into like a positive and advice. If you're doing it right, you're leaving at 9-10 in the morning. You're going to a coffee meeting. You're doing a write. Then you're going to another meeting. Then you're doing a performance, and it's a full day. And there were times, obviously take breaks, because there were times where I did that for 10, 14 days in a row and got really tired and like got sick on my way back home, and then had to perform with a band with a little bit of a cold because I like overdid it. But I think if you're doing it right, be out there and meeting and taking those meetings when you come into town. Yeah.
I think that, you have to come here to work. And I've always told people too, don't come here and treat it like a vacation, because if you're coming here to see if you want to move here, you have to see if you think you really want to live here, if you can handle it.
You can handle the job.
Yeah.
That's, it's a music business. Business is part of the
that's
thing.
the big word.
So when I moved here, I really did have to learn how to like love the city from like just a patron living here. So like going to the parks or going to a women's entrepreneur random group that's getting together. I go to church. I had to figure out that part of it when I lived here. But that was more like, I will figure that out once I get, here, then I'll settle in and put roots in and stuff.
Well, you were really trying to assimilate, and I did see you at a lot of events, and I saw you playing, around town, and I thought, that was really a good way to do it, because then you, like you said, you got really integrated, and people thought, wait a minute, I thought you lived here. And I remember people that left Nashville that would come back for things, and people thought they still lived here.
Right.
And they wouldn't want anybody to know that they had left, because they were still, trying to do business.
So it's everybody does it.
Yeah.
Everybody does it.
Yeah. So we were talking about making goals, and you were asking me, do I make my goals in categories? And I don't really do that. Like, I'll have a goal that I really want to achieve, but I always make goals, by the week, the month, the 6 months, the year, because some goals, you could put it down for the first month, but it might take it 6 months to really manifest, and you have to know how you're going to make that happen. Yeah. Like we were talking about, I want to win a Grammy, and
all the Grammys,
right. And how are you going to make that happen? Because obviously you have to have a recording, and you have to, get nominated, and have to get the votes, and so there's a lot of steps.
Or a mega artist recording your song. So we were really in discussion about goals, and this time of year is like super important for me to think about that.
Me too.
My birthday's in October, and then it's also with the end of the year too. I'm like, let's assess everything. Let's figure out, the next year and 2025 and after that. So I'm always trying to revamp that. I also, as you were talking, I was thinking about it, around my entire condo, which is not that big, but around my entire condo, there is little things everywhere, like little visuals. I also have a vision board, but I have like a bag that says CMT on it. I have a little gift bag that from the Opry that's in the corner of my room. Like, there's always these little Easter eggs everywhere, so I'm subconsciously seeing them all the time. But I tend to write out all of my goals in categories. If it was just like songwriter category, but then maybe I'm like, okay, this is like 3 to 6 months, but I feel like I can take it to another level. Yeah. As far as like SMART goals or difficult for me to like, 'cause sometimes if I put a deadline on it or like quantifiable kind of things, and I'm like, it feels real, and I'm almost like afraid that I'm not going to get it. But fear of success is more real than fear of failure for many people.
It's really true. Some people are really afraid to be successful. I don't know why.
It's like when the struggles, they won't have this.
Yeah.
It's like they get so used to this feeling, and that's stuff that I'm constantly trying to awaken in myself.
Well, the thing that drives me crazy in this town, and it always will, are songwriters who like to group together to complain about how they're so broke, and and it makes me cuckoo.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if you're coming up every day with ideas, well, you're not broke. Then maybe you need to strategize in a different way, or
right.
maybe you need to get out of your comfort zone of saying you're broke, and you're not broke if you have ideas. You're not.
Right.
Your job. I remember my acting coach used to say, if you don't have a gig in a part, in a role, then your job is auditioning.
Yes.
And so you have to be ready for that job. Just like the thing of being positive about what you're going to do with your creativity, but you're a positive thinker.
Pivoting, like there's a lot of tasks to be done in just this being an artist alone, or an independent artist. There's a lot of tasks to be done, but it's just like pivoting. I've been on the road for about 2.5 years touring this touring this record and milking this, debut album. And then I had a year of duets, which was so fun. And going to, London. But now it's like, okay, now I got to pivot and do some more shows that are closer to Nashville. Mm-hmm. And so it's always, reinventing, pivoting. What do you need to be focusing on right now?
Well, and what do you really want to do? That's another thing that I think some artists don't face. They want to play artist, but they don't really want to do all this heavy lifting, dirty work stuff sometimes it takes to be an artist, because, as you know, some gigs are fabulous and you get paid hardly anything, and some gigs are paid well and they're terrible.
Yeah.
So you just have to roll with the punches, and the whole thing about being an artist is it is 24/7 onslaught.
Mm-hmm. It is. The hours are long, but luckily, if you love it, it doesn't always feel like you're working.
It feels like you're watching one of your favorite movies all the time.
Yes, and I do try to be protective about shows that I do take. I feel like I've been full time for 8 years, so I feel like in a space now where I can be like, I don't want to go to Wisconsin in January. Sorry, guys.
Right.
That doesn't sound like fun to me.
Yeah. You've graduated, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So tell me a little bit about what your process is of writing. How do you like to work?
Oh, yeah. I thrive on pressure. I really do. So when I know that I have a writing appointment.
Are we the same person? I'm kidding.
I mean, so we have the same name. So I thrive. So if I know I have a writing appointment coming up, I'm subconsciously listening to the artist and how can the two of us come together, and what does this artist normally sing about, and then all of a sudden it's subconsciously ideas kind of pour out a lot early in the morning. And if I'm awakened at all anytime after 4, I'm for sure up for an hour and a half singing, line after line, and then putting my phone down, and then a couple minutes later going back to my phone and singing more of the lines to the song. And it's come on. But I also like it. I've written songs off of notes where I'm raspy and barely singing, and been let me sing this to you guys, let me hear it for a second, then I'm gonna sing it. And they're we like it.
Was I crazy? Isn't that the weirdest thing too, when you sing something and then you go back and think, what in the world? But here's what I want to ask you, because you seem like you have enough confidence to answer this question. So how does it feel when you go into a room, you're going to write with an artist, but you're an artist? What does that feel like when you have to take a little bit of a back seat, so to speak, if you're working for somebody else's project?
It's a different hat. I wouldn't say a back seat. I would say it's a different hat. I view songwriting as a gift, and I it's not always just me that's doing it. I'm channeling, like, the God, the spirit, anything that you guys would say, I am channeling that through me. Yeah. And so I remember writing with somebody and them being like, oh my gosh, this is exactly how I would speak that. And in my mind, I'm like, I mean, that's my job. You know what I mean? Like, that's good because I just did my job. But I try to get in their mindset. So it's a fun challenge. Yeah. Because every person is different. Every artist has their own thumbprint. So it's definitely a fun challenge to do so. And I enjoy it a lot. Yeah.
It's really fun to get to, I always like to talk in a writing appointment, have conversation. And that always is really inspiring to me. And I think it settles the energy down a little bit if somebody in the room's nervous, somebody that's new to writing. I write with a lot of young artists and young people, and and sometimes it ends up feeling more like a teaching session. You know what I mean. You've been in those situations, I'm sure.
It is very like my bass player's new town. So when we write, it's fun because I feel like I'm saying things out loud that I learned from mentors when I wrote with them. Yeah. And like I'm able to like channel that back, and we had a great time like writing together. And so I do enjoy those moments. Well,
and the other thing too about that is now that with the way COVID shut everything down, and then Zoom kind of opened it up, and then the world opened back up again, and all these people that we're meeting that are really unique people, and they don't live here, and they come here, and like you're saying, they spend all this time working for 2 weeks, working their tail off for 2 weeks to get songs ready to record. And so there's all kinds of new people, to meet in town.
Yeah. And like sometimes I'll get emails from publishing companies or PR companies, and they want to set me up with their like young artists. And I'm like, I'm flattered that they just even want to ask. Like they think to ask me. So I'm like, yes, let's take on this. Even though it's kind of like nerve-wracking, because there's a little pressure behind it. But I know at the end of the day, I love the pressure of it. Yeah. And it's going to be fine and fun when we get in the room. So I'm like, yes, I will take that. You know what I mean?
That's really cool.
It's fun. I did a lot of Zoom writing during the COVID years.
Me too. I did quite a bit of it. So if you were going to give advice to a young female artist beyond what you said earlier, what would you tell them? What would you say?
One who's being artist and like writes and does artist stuff. I would say, for me, since we were just talking about songwriting, my brain's kind of there. But I remember someone saying like, just setting your timer on your phone to like 10-15 minutes and like free form writing and not judging yourself in the beginning of the day. If you feel like you go into the writing room new and you feel like blockages about it, that really helps to get just kind of clear your mind and all of those anxious thoughts. Everybody has them when they're new to writing, and so I would say taking time to just free form write. And also like no idea is bad in the writing room. You could think it's stupid, but if you say it out loud, I've had people say, or me, say stuff out loud and it inspires the actual line. Yes. So you don't hold things in because you think it sounds stupid. The writing room is a safe space where everyone's trying to get to the
main thing.
Yes. Yeah. So that would be my advice. And as an artist, like as many times that you can perform, do it. If you want to get better at the guitar, then force yourself to do shows with
where
the
you
guitar,
have to play guitar.
That's what I've been on and off with the guitar since I was 15 years old, and it's hard and it doesn't feel awesome and it's not super girly with your nails and all those things. But I was just kind of like, you know what? I want freedom to choose
what kind of shows you want to do,
what's coming out. Yes, what shows I want to do, the tempo, how I want to express myself. I don't want to have to rely on anybody else. And I think that was really freeing. So the sooner that you can like suck it up and do it.
I agree.
And get past that hump, the better.
Girl, I've never had long nails. I've played piano my whole life, and I was never allowed to have nails, because it would tap on the keys.
Yes.
And also, and you know this from playing guitar, your fingers, feel different if you have shorter nails than as opposed to long nails.
You have to, it messes up the chords. So just cut your nails on this side.
Yeah.
Or whatever,
You can have long nails when you're 80.
Yes. I started piano when I was 7.
Yeah.
I actually took lessons till I was 14 before we moved to Green Bay area. So piano was my first instrument. So sometimes mathematically, because there's so much math in music, but sometimes mathematically, the guitar being in fifths and the piano being in 8, I'm like, math, how do I, I'm just like, why does it make sense that this A is here and there? But it's just one of those things to memorize for me, because I it's almost like I need to know the math behind it, and
That's funny.
Sometimes you just don't.
That's funny. That's funny. So what would your dream tour look like?
Ooh, I was looking at this, and like a life, right? Like Ashley Cook's life right now. So getting up in the morning and going to do an interview, and then hitting the stage to do a sound check, and then having a couple hours where I either have to answer emails, or I get to write or film content, and then doing meet and greets and going out on stage every day.
I thought you were going to say, and then a couple hours where I'd get to eat. That's, of course, where I went.
Great food would be amazing. Dream tour, amazing catering that's super healthy for your body and keeps me fueled to just keep going every day. But I'm ready for that. Like, I would love a schedule like that. That's what a dream tour would be. And I would love to be able to go to all countries and do that.
Yeah, that sounds so great. What about some artists you've seen perform? Like, do you see any big shows in this last year that you loved?
I always try to go to Leanne Rimes whenever she's in Nashville. She's coming up in a little bit in like her Christmas tour. But
I've seen her do some of that on TV. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
She's so great and authentic. And so you're saying, like, what artist would I maybe want to
No, like tour? Who have you seen play this year? Did you see anybody this year in concert that you loved? Or
I think about Dermot Kennedy.
Oh, okay.
Outside of country, but I wasn't really familiar with him. And he has quite the creative space and sound. And now I hear him all the time in Walgreens. I'm hearing him. So I am recognizing his songs, because he really did draw me in. And I'm sure it also helped after the concert. Yeah. It was at the down in Franklin, like the Red Rocks of Nashville.
You mean the Pilgrimage show, or you mean that other First Bank Amphitheater?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. And then we got to meet him afterwards. He sat and talked with us for 20 minutes, and I really appreciate it. I was like, don't you have anyone else to talk to? This is awesome.
I've Shazammed him on my phone in the store.
He did a hell of a job for his show.
Yeah.
I've seen the Sidewalk Prophets at Life Fest.
Oh, wow.
And they did a great job. I saw Toby Mac's show
afterwards. I love him.
When there was 12 people on stage with horns.
Oh,
I was
how cool.
very impressed with the whole dance and the routines that were happening, and all of the hits and the different lighting. That was really cool.
That's cool. I just went and saw, this is the most inspiring songwriter in town to me is Jeffrey Steele, and we just went and saw him this past weekend. And
where did he play at?
He's insane. He was at Third and Lindsley with Anthony Smith, and a lot of times when I've seen Jeffrey play, he's played with a band, but this time it was just he and Anthony Smith doing the acoustic thing, and it was so great.
You got to know him personally at this point, yet?
Yeah, I've met him. Yeah, I wrote with people that wrote for him, and so you hear all that amazing energy coming through the walls.
Oh yeah,
I love his music. So tell me your Stay Inspired story, and that's a story I love to have my guests tell about something that inspired them in life that still sticks with them. It could be a person, anything, a song, an experience.
Yeah. So this is a go-to for me. Mrs. Swishel was my music teacher, and
Mrs. Swishel.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she's my kindergarten music teacher, like my elementary school music teacher.
Aww.
And she gave me the solos, and she took my parents aside and was like, hey, your daughter can sing, like, but it's different. Like, you need to do something about this. And from then on, like a year later, I'm in a play for community theater, and she came out and brought flowers. Like, she was a big champion, like my first, champion in my life that really changed the direction. So, without getting emotional, but like I always wanted to really do it and make her proud because of how much she poured into me.
That's so great.
And then I've had, as I was talking, I thought about this. I've had a message from one of my fans, and I wrote it down because it was so, like, it hit me like a wall or bricks. Like, and someone had sent this beautiful message that basically said, I see you, I see what you're doing, like, do it big, sweetheart. Like daring me to just follow this dream. Yeah. So, and at the end it was like, do it big, sweetheart. And I just wrote that down, and I put it on my little, like, bulletin board at the time, like the cork one. And that sentence has stuck with me. Like, if I'm gonna do it, do it big. Like,
well, it's always so cool when someone encourages us, even if we've had success, and when you're doing it like you are. Of course, you are very successful, and there's always people, watching out for you. And it's cool to think about the people that keep up with us too. That, you leave your hometown and you think, I'm saying goodbye, I'll never see them again. And then surprise, somebody sends you a message.
Yeah. The messages, and like, even what you said, people in town. I just went and saw Mary Cutter last night at Whiskey Jam. And for her to look in my eyes and tell me that she's proud of me and how I'm kicking ass, and to have another industry person who I think is doing an amazing job and like getting after it, say that to me as well, and have us have that moment, that means a lot. It means a lot to me, because she's in my shoes. Like, she's doing all the things. She's working really hard. So to have someone take a moment to say that, I hold on to that stuff for sure.
Oh, yeah.
That's very powerful.
And I think it's really important, back to the goal thing for a minute. I remember when Bill and I lived in LA a million years ago, and there was a woman that she was at a major label, and at that time I was going around to some labels out there and taking the music, and girl, I had like 4 songs recorded. This was like my measly 4 songs. And she said to me, to always keep your eye on the goal, don't look at the obstacles. And I always picture it like this, like the goal, like it's not so far away I can't get to it, but it's just this really long road, and along the road they're like pylons, and if I look at them, I'm gonna be deterred to go off the road, so I'm just looking straight ahead. And that it always really, really stuck with me. And she wrote it on a piece of paper, and I think I still have that piece of paper, and that was years ago. But I think it's so important what all you girls are doing in Nashville, going out, doing your shows, supporting each other, really being there, going to each other's shows, and being happy for each other when somebody has a success. Because, the thing that I thought about when I was driving through the traffic on the Taylor Swift weekend when she was here, I thought, look what music did. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. How could we complain about traffic? Or when Bill and I got stuck in traffic when George Strait was here and we couldn't get home for an hour and a half, and we weren't even going to the show. Yeah. We were just trying to go into town. And look what music did.
Music brought people.
It's amazing. And it brings people together.
I thank God for music all the time.
Yes.
Like, I literally just say the sentence, like, thank you. I'm so grateful. When I write my gratitudes, I'm so thankful for music.
Yeah, it's so true.
Because it is... I just love it.
Yeah, me too. Now tell me your power word or phrase. I'm sure you have 15 of them, but go ahead. Pick one.
Well, there's a guy called Papa Ray who I met through church, and he encouraged me to have these little rocks and write the word of the year on this rock. So he would give me a rock every year, and we'd have lunch, and
just a standard rock.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And it was like
smooth,
kind of soft and smooth, and just like light gray. And I would write in Sharpie the word, and the one that's like real, obviously, like, you honor every word, for the year, but the one that's kind of like keeps rolling over as well is determined. And discipline. I'm sorry, discipline. I don't know why I
Discipline,
said, but
determination.
it means determined to me. You know, like, but when I look at that word, it's like, if I keep being disciplined and like, and determined on what I'm doing with God's help,
you're going to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Then so that is, that's the word that I see right by my computer is discipline. Yeah. And I just am like, okay, yep, doing the routine, like getting the things done.
Yeah.
And just
keeping the promises to yourself too, you know, because I think when you give yourself goals or things to do, you know, in your determined way, you're keeping a big promise to yourself, you know, because that can be disheartening if you keep picking the wrong thing and then you don't do it. You got to analyze, why am I not doing that?
Right.
Why am I stopping? So that's really good advice.
Yeah. So that's been like my, just kind of like the backbone of like every day I'm going to honor that and word and like live that out and be disciplined and like keep
hitting it. Now, what is it that you're grateful for today?
I'm always grateful for the sun. I am always grateful for my morning time where I get to sit on my yoga mat and be in my body and in the sun.
Yeah.
And feel the rays. I am grateful for that all the time. So this morning was good in particular.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
I practice yoga. I love it.
Nice.
I love yoga because it taught me something about the transitions of life, you know, that we're always seem to be moving from one thing to another. And, you know, in yoga, as you know this, if you practice, you know, you go from one pose to another. And sometimes it's tough, you know, to hold that pose. But if you really focus, you know, you can get there. So
you focus on relaxed breathing and focusing your eyes on one spot.
Yeah.
The pose can be really hard, but doing those things will help.
Yeah, I agree.
Help stick it. So yoga has, a lot of like mirroring discipline things for just life in general.
It's really great. So I just can't tell you how much I appreciate you being here, and the two Kirsties. I know. Two Kirsties are better than one.
I think so. I think so, always.
That is so amazing. And you're going to do a song for us. And what's this? Tell us what the name of the song is and tell us about the song.
Yeah, the song's so fun. It's called Heaven Has a Beach.
Oh, and I love that.
Yeah, I wrote it with Paige Rose and Brett Stair out of Texas. And we were all in Portland, Tennessee at the CMT Writers Retreat. And so it was like earlier this month. And we've had a blast.
That sounds
like writing
great.
This song.
Oh, I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah.
All right. Everybody stick around. We're going to be right back with Kirsti Krause and her song.
You're my hero, more than a hero, and I look up to you every single day. Every day. My celebration, my inspiration is to be like you, but in my own way. You're my hero, more than a hero.
I've spent years of self-discovery learning how to live a successful creative life. That's why I created my course, Spark Your Creativity, the Steps to a Successful Creative Journey, to help others discover their own potential. Your creative journey never ends. So why not invest in yourself and sign up for my course today at Kirsti.com. See you on the journey. Thanks, everybody, for checking out KIRSTIcast today, and a special thanks to my Shiro Spotlight guest, Kirsti Krause. I love it. I love that we had another Kirsti on the show. I've never had a Kirsti before. That's so cool. I hope you're going to be watching the podcast, listening to the podcast, anywhere you get podcasts. Don't forget to listen, like, download, share, tell everybody about it. And don't forget to check out my online course, Spark Your Creativity. A good way for you to do a little self-care and take care of yourself, because that course is all about you, and that's why I wrote it. Hope you're going to check it out. Hope I'm going to see you next time here at KIRSTIcast, and whatever you do, stay inspired.
We were talking about sunshine earlier, and so here is my new song, Heaven Has a Beach.
as a beach where I can get a tan. The only hurricane is a drink in my hand. The sand between my toes, salty water flows. God knows just how to speak to my soul. If he's been listening to what I'm praying for, I'll sing hallelujah, praise the Lord. I'll heaven as a beach, yeah, yeah, yeah. There'd be no need to bring a towel, the folding chairs are free. He's got me covered, guarantee. Never get a summer, ain't no cloud in the sky. After all, this is paradise. I hope heaven has a beach where I can get a tan. The only hurricane is a drink in my hand. Sand between my toes, salty water flows. God knows just how to speak to my soul. If he's been listening to what I'm praying for, I'll sing hallelujah, praise the Lord. I hope heaven has a beach, yeah, yeah, yeah. I hope heaven has a beach, yeah, yeah, yeah. Where me and Jim is sing Margaritaville, and it's 5 o'clock, no matter what the time tells. Ain't nobody judges what you got on, 'cause here we can do no wrong. I hope heaven has a beach where I can get a tan. The only hurricane is a drink in my hand. Sand between my toes, salty water flows. God knows just how to speak to my soul. If he's been listening to what I'm praying for, I'll sing hallelujah, praise the Lord. I hope heaven has a beach, yeah, 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 yeah. I hope heaven has a beach, yeah, 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 yeah. I hope heaven has a beach, A-C-H. When I die, you'll find me. Is that the B-A-C-H? The B-A-C-H. Look no further, 'cause where I'll be. Is that the B-A-C-H? The B-A-C-H. The B-A-C-H. The B-A-C-H.
You've been listening to KIRSTIcast.